Subscribe and join us every Tuesday here on Chicago Bears Now, 4 o'clock Eastern. We go live for our weekly live shows. We do live mailbags, and we get you caught up on the latest Bears rumors and news and anything else going around the Chicago Bears. So subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never, ever miss our live shows every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. King of Sam's as we get going here on our mailbag. Wilson is the first. Appreciate the super chat, by the way. Wilson is the first. Who are you taking in the second? So Zach Wilson, I assume, is who you're talking about. Got another one on Zach Wilson, so we'll just kind of tag these two questions together. We'll stick on this one first. I like Zach Wilson in round one. If you can get him, I would take him. If you get a quarterback in round one, you go offensive line in round two. Left tackle, maybe a right tackle, potentially a guard, but I would like to get rid of Charles Leno, so I prefer left tackle. So quarterback O-line in round one and round two, I love it. Austin also has a Zach Wilson question. Could the Bears trade up for Zach Wilson? Feel like he may go higher than we think. You're not alone. Dane Brugler, who is the NFL draft analyst for The Athletic, has Zach Wilson going number 2 overall. Now, I think that's a little rich, but Dane is well connected in the NFL, and so if he's already throwing that out there, it could be a possibility. Zach Wilson is kind of like this year's Joe Burrow in the sense that he's gone from off the radar to potentially a top 5 pick, which is very hard to do at the quarterback position. He's had a monster year. I know they lost that game to Coastal Carolina this week. He was not the reason why. His offensive line got destroyed, and his receivers could not catch the football. He is an excellent prospect. He's mobile. He's got a strong arm. I like his game a lot, and if you watch him closely, he can actually progress through his reads, unlike some quarterback the Bears took a couple of years ago. Mitch Trubisky. Oh, who said that? I like Zach Wilson. I wouldn't trade the house for him, but say you have the 12th pick, and he's sitting there at 8. Would I go from 12 to 8? Yeah, I'd probably do that to go and get Zach Wilson because I need my quarterback for the future, and I think he's got a chance to be just that. Now, Trey Lance is another name that's been linked to the Bears and in the first round as well, and you're not getting Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, so pick a quarterback prospect. Type ZW for Zach Wilson, type TL for Trey Lance. Which one would you rather have? We'll make this the pinned comment, and you guys can reply right there. Christian, next up on our Bears mailbag, franchise tag A-Rob and draft a quarterback. Look, the tag is definitely on the table at this point, right? Like, they're not getting a long-term deal done until potentially the offseason, and at this point, I mean, A-Rob kind of seems checked out, so I don't know. So tagging him is likely, or at least fairly likely. Drafting a quarterback, yeah. You guys want it, I want it, everyone wants it. This team needs a quarterback. I don't care who it is. Draft one and see if it works. Darian Diaz, any potential wide receiver trades in the offseason? I just don't like, why trade for a receiver when you have one? Just sign him. You know what Allen Robinson is. And by the way, he's only 27 years old. I feel like people think Allen Robinson's on the wrong side of 30 or something. He's 27. Like, Julio Jones is 31. Everybody's like, trade for Julio. He's 31. He's been hurt all year. Just re-sign Allen Robinson. Give him the Amari Cooper deal. 5 years, $100 million, opt out after 2 years. Sounds good to me. Sound good to you? It should. Next question here. Suaz, go up in the draft. I think trading up's an option, but only for a quarterback. I don't think you would trade up for another position. I guess offensive tackle if you really like a guy, but this is actually a deep offensive lineman draft. I think you could sit at where you're at and get a left tackle if you want to, but if you see a quarterback that you eye and you want to go get him, go and do it. That is the one thing I will say about Pace. As bad as the Trubisky thing was, he thought he had the right quarterback and he traded up for him. I won't blame him for that. The problem is he obviously picked the wrong guy, and that's why we were all shocked on draft night. Deshaun Watson was right there. Forget Mahomes. He was a wild card. Why would you not take him? But if you get the right guy and you like him, go trade up and get him. Dason here. How do you feel about Kyle Trask? Love him as a day 2 option. Maybe he sneaks into round 1. He could be a trade-down candidate. If you want to trade down in round 1, pick up maybe an extra second or third, take him in the 20s if his stock gets high enough. I'm okay with that. I can't take Trask in the top 15. His arm isn't strong enough. He has some limitations from a physical standpoint, but I like him a lot. I think he's got a chance to succeed if you have the right pieces around him, but I think he would be a trade down or draft in the second round type of player. Muhammad here, draft Rondale Moore in the second round. I'd be okay with that if you get a quarterback in round 1. I can't take a receiver before a quarterback in this draft. I don't think, unless they trade or sign a quarterback for whatever reason. I don't think that's super likely, though. Rondale Moore is a terrific player out of Purdue. He's more than a gadget guy. He has a chance to be a poor man's Tyreek Hill. I don't think he'll be as good as Tyreek, but he can burn. He can do a lot of different things. He can be good in the return game as well. If you want to make some money, Bet Rivers is the place to do it. Chatsports.com/BetIL. Texans are favored in Chicago this week, 1.5-point favorites. I'm staying away from that point spread this week. I love the over, though. 2 reasons why. Texans offense is good with Deshaun Watson. Bears defense isn't playing as well. Texans defense sucks. And the Bears offense is playing a little better. I gave you 4 reasons instead of 2. 2 for the price of 1. Make some money at Bet Rivers if you're either in the state of Indiana or in the state of Illinois. They're going to give you a 100% deposit match. Now, if you're outside of one of those states and you're like, oh, why am I even watching? You can still sign up and deposit with Bet Rivers. Maybe you're making a trip later this year or early next year to one of those states, but you must be within state lines of either Illinois or Indiana to place a bet, and that is chatsports.com/BetIN for you Indiana folks. And then, of course, in Illinois, it's chatsports.com/BetIL. Make some money with Bet Rivers. By the way, NBA season right around the corner. You can bet on or against the Bulls as well. The enemy core, who is most likely starting QB next season? I don't think he's on the roster. I just, at this point, I don't think the starting quarterback's on the roster. Here's what I think happens. I think Trubisky signs elsewhere, probably as a backup. Foles will be your backup next week. Maybe Foles starts the first couple of games, kind of like Fitzpatrick with Tua this year in Miami, just to not rush your rookie. But by week 4 or 5, I want my new quarterback starting. Hopefully by week 1, and then Tyler Bray can be your practice squad guy again. I think that's your quarterback situation. It's either a draft pick or a guy you trade or sign for in free agency. Jonah, do we get Matt Nagy a second chance? I've been a Nagy apologist, but I think it probably makes the most sense to just scrap it all. If they gave Nagy a chance and said, hey, we want you to draft your guy at quarterback and see how it goes, I'm not completely opposed, but it's gone so south that I think it's best to cut ties with everyone. And you guys know me, I've defended Nagy, but you lose 6 in a row after a 5-1 start, the head coach takes blame as well, and he knows that. So I think you're probably better off just scraping it all and starting fresh in 2021. Osbert, #Bears profiles on some upcoming lineman prospects. I'm not going to sit here and say I've done a deep film dive on the guys. Obviously, Penei Sewell out of Oregon, left tackle. He's probably going to be your top guy. I know the Northwestern kid, the name is blanking on me, but he's going to be a top 10 pick. Samuel Cosme out of Texas is another guy to look at as well. Virginia Tech's Christian Darrisaw. Those 2 guys in particular are in the range of where Texas or where the Bears will be picking in the early teens, late teens, depending on what happens the final month. So keep those 3 or 4 names in mind. Obviously, I'll do a deeper dive as we get closer to the offseason. But those 4 guys are some of your top offensive linemen. Roger Gutierrez, which 3 defensive players do the Bears need to keep? Well, they're going to keep more than 3. The question that they need to keep, Jalen Johnson, your rookie corner that you drafted, I think he's been a great story. Now, the question is, do you keep Khalil Mack or do you try to trade him? I think you keep him. If you can get a top 15 pick, you could talk me into trading him. Akeem Hicks is another big question because you can cut him and save $10.5 million. Do you want to keep or cut him? You're stuck with Robert Quinn until after next year because you paid him $30 million guaranteed because Ryan Pace is the worst GM in the NFL, not named Bill O'Brien, and he is now jobless. So, Roquan Smith is another name. You need to keep him. He's had an excellent season at linebacker. Kyle Fuller, maybe you cut him to save money, but I'd like to keep him as well. Aiden Collins, if the Bears get Eric Bieniemy and Louis Riddick, what will happen with Allen Robinson, and what do you think our record will be? I honestly think if you get a well-established and a couple of names in here that are well-respected, I think A-Rob will get back on board. He's wanted to stay all along. He's just pissed off because the Bears basically have shut down contract negotiations. You get a new head coach and a new GM in here that sits him down and is like, hey, we're going to start winning. We're doing X, Y, and Z. I think he'll get back on board. But until that happens, it's kind of up in the air. Anthony, not going to pronounce your last name because I don't know what it is. Let me know. How was Mitchell's performance? Trubisky, I'll say this, and I will concede this. Mitchell Trubisky, the last 2 weeks, has at least moved the ball better than Nick Foles. There's no debating that, right? Like, you put up 30 points. Trubisky played pretty well. Here's the problem. Here's what you guys can't compute, and a lot of you guys keep blaming it on the right tackle. Mitchell Trubisky had, and I rewatched the film, upwards of 3 seconds on that strip sack. In that situation, that is when you call a pass play on 3rd and 4, that is if your first read isn't there, just go down, take the sack, force Detroit to use a timeout. You cannot get strip sacked there. And that is just kind of a metaphor for his entire time here. He flashes, he shows potential, but at the end of the day, he's not a winning franchise quarterback because he doesn't do the little and smart things well, like having a high football IQ in a huge moment. Strip sack, game over. So can't have it. I'm moving on from Trubisky. He's played okay, but I don't need to see him anymore. Bulls Nation, should we sign Jim Harbaugh? Should he be the next head coach? I'm curious to see what happens in Michigan. There's rumblings. Maybe they're going to extend him. He's on my list. You guys can check out my Matt Nagy replacements video at YouTube, right here on the channel, youtube.com/BearsNow. That's why you should subscribe. I've got him on my list. I won't tell you where he is. Just go check out the video. I'd be okay with hiring Harbaugh. He's not at the top of my list, so there's another hint for you guys. But I got 10 names on there, so go check it out. Look, I'm fine with Harbaugh if he gets an innovative play caller in here. That's what I need if I need a head coach that's not a young offensive mind. I need a good play caller if Jim Harbaugh or any of these other coaches that I've got lower on my list get the job.